Hey everybody, it's Father Edward here, and I love doing these little impromptu interviews. Maybe you remember when I interviewed Raj Bond from the Christmas with the Chosen. We were in a little hotel restaurant and that took place. So these are always fun little conversations. And so on Instagram, I have been following Lorelei Savaryn for a while. We were actually talking about this. We don't know if there's a deeper connection or anything like this. But I think it came down to one of these Follow Fridays, and these are Catholic authors or authors you should be following. She writes for Catholic Mom. I've done some stuff for Catholic Mom. We know a lot of the same Catholic influencers in the world. So she just did a show with Danielle Bean, for example. So it's interesting. Our paths cross. I'm a priest in Door County and also in Kewaunee County at Lincoln Rosaire. And she grew up in De Pere, and she's on a little book tour. She's written 2 books, and they're with Penguin Random House. So the Circus of Stolen Dreams and the Edge of In Between. So I think a lot of people always have this interest in maybe becoming a writer. Everybody says, I want to write a book. Or, I've written some books myself, only with Catholic publishers. And so we have this experience. So when did you know you wanted to be a writer?
I actually found a journal entry from 2007, very recently, where I wrote that I wanted to try to write a book, but that I was too scared to try. And then literally almost a decade went by before I got brave enough. So my husband is a huge encourager for me. And in very early 2007, he helped make space in our life for me to pursue this. And I ultimately decided that I was more afraid of what it would feel like to have not tried at all than to try and fail, and that I was willing to take that risk. And here we are.
So I think when it comes to writing, a lot of people think, I'll just self-publish a book. And I always tell people don't do that because it's a lot of work to self-publish. And what a publisher can offer you is so much more. They offer you an editor, and so they're going to go through your book, they're going to comment on it, they're going to help you improve it. They have a publicity department, so they're going to get you speaking gigs, different shows that you're on, so that's good. So it's a great team approach when you have a publisher behind you.
Yes.
And also when you don't have marketing, you're going to sell maybe 100 books, whereas if you have a publisher, you're going to sell thousands of books.
Yeah.
But maybe for the person out there, their story is just a local story. They just want to share it with their family and friends. But if you want to write a book that is widely read, I don't recommend self-publishing. So how did you get into a big house like Penguin Random?
Yes, so I knew very early on that I wanted to go the traditional route, partly because if I was published by a major publisher, I knew that it would be more likely that my book would be in many bookstores across the country and would be placed there. More readers would be able to find them. I also liked the idea just of getting in advance and having money flow towards me instead of away from me in terms of spending money. So I actually didn't pay anything to be published. I acquired a literary agent, which is necessary to submit to a large publisher. That took a very long time, a lot of rejections. It was about 2 manuscripts in a year and a half before I got offers of representation for what became this book. And then we sold pretty quickly to Penguin Random House. My agent submitted my manuscript and an editor fell in love with it. And we worked on that 2-book deal. So these were both part of the same deal. But I really liked that path and the exposure and the potential it had for me to find people to read my stories. Can
you give a brief synopsis of each one of your books?
Yeah. So briefly, the Circus of Stolen Dreams is about a girl who goes into a circus built of dreams and nightmares, trying to run away from the difficult things in her life. And she ends up walking into a dream tent that contains a dream that her brother had from the night he disappeared. And she realizes he might still be in the circus and she might still have a chance to find him and save him and bring him home. So it's very much a story about sister's love for a brother, about learning to embrace both the good and the bad in life, and to just accept the whole, because if you run away from all the bad stuff, you miss some of the good stuff too. And also just having the chance to save someone you've lost, I think was really helpful for me. And then this one, The Edge of In Between, is a spooky, magical retelling of The Secret Garden.
Tell us what The Secret Garden is.
Yeah, so The Secret Garden was written by Frances Hodgson Burnett in like the 1800s. It's a very like classic story about a girl who finds a garden, moves in with her uncle after she's orphaned. And so I took that kind of the structure and the bones of that, and I gave it a twist. And this one is particularly deeply influenced by my Catholic faith. At its heart, this one is a story about a girl turned gray from sorrow, who goes to a land of ghosts and finds a garden of ice and decay, who finds her way to hope and healing and magic again. Very inspired by C.S. Lewis's A Grief Observed and The Great Divorce, and just my Catholic heart.
And the edge of in between is the place where this character lives, right, for a little bit, and then eventually someone makes it to a different place, which maybe we would call heaven.
Yes, so basically most of the book takes place in a setting inspired by purgatory, and it's where all of the souls of those who have died make their way to the mountains of ever after. And one of the side characters is one of those ghosts, and you get to watch him heal his heart and become whole and ready for the love that's waiting for him on the other side. So that was one of my favorite scenes to write, honestly.
And I checked on Amazon. It's listed in the category of children's books for death and dying. So it's considered a children's book. What's the age range that is recommended for this?
Yeah, the target is 8 to 12-year-olds. It does deal with grief and loss and finding one's way through it and ending up in a more hopeful place. Everything, doesn't wrap up with a neatly tied up bow for my character, but it's hopeful. And I hope that readers who read this, whether young or older, will be able to identify with some of Lottie's journey and how grief feels at different points along the way. And maybe it hopefully will help somebody realize and understand that someday it's going to get better and you're going to be able to see the sun again and you're going to smile again.
Now, maybe I'll say this. So sometimes you judge a book by the cover. So I look at this book, I see a lot of pink, okay? And I'm like, well, is this something that you would give to the boy child in your life? Or is it more of a story girls are going to relate to? What's that like?
Yeah, so my main character is a girl, but several of the side characters are boys. She finds out that she has a cousin, as this is a Secret Garden retelling, and that happened in the original. So there's a cousin who's a boy. The ghost who meets them in the garden is a boy. She moves in with her uncle. So there are a lot of characters here, both male and female, and I really hope that this is a story for all readers.
That's great. So The Edge of In Between is Lorelei's latest book, and also the Circus of Stolen Dreams, which was the first book she wrote. They're not companion books, so they're written separately, so one isn't a prequel and the other a sequel or anything like that. If you're looking for some good books, and I think we talked a little bit about this during our little coffee, that sometimes when you enter into a secular bookstore, you'll find books that have different ideologies. And so if you want good, wholesome content, inspired a little bit by faith, and give that to somebody in your life, then I think these are two books just for that purpose.
Yes, these are books that I am so proud to share with my own children. And I know as a Catholic mom, I'm always looking for books that lift up the good and the beautiful and the true in our own lives. So you can absolutely have confidence that anything that's written by me will be something you can easily give to the young readers in your life.
Tell me a little bit about your family. How many kids?
Yeah, so my husband is named John Paul, after St. John
Pope.
Paul II, yes. We've been married for 15 years, and we have 4 children, aged 10 down to 2.5.
And so have any of your children read your books?
Yes, so our oldest, our 10-year-old, is the one who's in the chapter book zone, and she is one of the first child readers for everything that I write.
Test audience.
Yes,
so
and she makes a little appearance in this one. She loves to bake, and her name is Felicity. All our kids are named after saints. And there's Felicity's Enchanted Treats in here, which is a magical bake shop.
Oh, interesting. I wrote a children's book back in the day. It was like a picture book. It was called Breakfast in Bethlehem. And it was telling the story of this little boy who has this dream, and he witnesses the nativity, has a little sister, and I just named the sister Molly. It was the first name that came to mind. I had no purpose, no intention. But if I was going to rewrite that story, I would name the child Megan, because that's I found a cousin Megan, who our mothers were both adopted, so they were sisters, never knew it, and we find each other through ancestry DNA. So I would do something similar, incorporate my own family into the story. So I'm looking forward to looking at these books and maybe even talking in greater length with her about The Edge of In Between on my podcast, How They Love Mary, sometime in November.
Yay.
Thanks so much, and you can get these books wherever books are sold. Barnes & Noble, she's here in Green Bay. She's doing a book signing at Barnes & Noble, and also you can get them wherever you buy these books. So Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.